My speech starts now. Thank you, Chairperson. It's similar to tell gay people not to out their identity in public sphere. Just tell them, hide away your identity. Never show off your identity in public sphere. It's similar to say that black people should not support Black Lives Matter movement in conservative areas because white people will be pissed off. It's very strange to conceal identity just because majority are oppressive. We believe that attitude constitutes fundamental assault to spirituality and mental security for minority believers. That is why we oppose the motion. I'd like to deal with two things in my speech. Firstly, how should we deal with ongoing discrimination against minority members? Secondly, why concealing identity itself constitutes fundamental spiritual assault for believers. Rebuttals will be incorporated into each issue. Firstly, how should we deal with ongoing discrimination against minorities in public? This is the main problem explained by Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister. If discrimination is ongoing, we should debate and discuss how we should cope with it and mitigate it. Visible existence of victims is critical in generating public and political dialogue over the issue, and this has a positive effect to change the ways in which people perceive minorities in a long term. This will happen in two ways. Number one, in private level, people interact with these minority groups if they show off their faith publicly, because we can notice that they are minorities. We interact them in workplace, school, community. At least we become aware of the problems and predicament that minorities people are confronting right now. Maybe we don't actively pay attention and understand their hardship, but at least moderate people will not dehumanize minority groups. And even this kind of interaction is very positive and beneficial for minority groups in that it reduces the pain. Secondly, local politicians pick and choose existence of minority issues and highlight these problems. I will take you later. For example, tax break or subsidy to religious school, and acknowledgement of family law and so on. And this kind of issue will become agenda in election at least. Therefore, we believe a discourse and actual policy change is far more likely. So let's make a comparison. We understand that backlash will happen from conservative people and right-wing people. However, these minority groups are already exposed to majoritarian oppression. We believe strong presence as a counter force is necessary in political dialogue. So let's take a look at acknowledgement of LGBTQ. Acknowledgement took a long time. Now gay marriage is legalized and a lot of people respect their rights and autonomy. Society is gradually liberalizing, but acknowledgement took a long time. This is because LGBTQ movement advocated for their presence for a long time, rather than hiding and concealing their identity from the public. We need this kind of brave attitudes in order to generate the social change. We don't believe this will happen overnight, but at least if people stay silent, if minorities stay silent, never advocating for their rights and presence, this kind of social change will never happen. Therefore, as a trade-off, we are more than happy to accept transitionally and short-term backlash from the right-wing people, LGBT movement or civil rights movement in the past in the United States of America. Any social change coincide with the backlash or even violent tension, but we are more than happy to accept it as a trade-off. Moving on to the second issue, but before that I would like to take closing government.
So, for example, the children religious believers who are unconsented to participate in the religious congregation are necessarily involved in discrimination. Why can you justify to use the innocent existence for the sake of the anti-discrimination?
Firstly, these issues with regard to children is not necessarily specific and inherent in religious dispute. Same thing could be happen to socioeconomic status or social class or religious differences. Therefore, I don't think that's the reason to oppose this specific strategy of a religious institution. Secondly, even if children might suffer to some extent in a short term, what we would like to prioritize is a long-term security and long-term social change and the probability of discourse. That is why we believe, as a strategy of religious institutions, we believe our approach is the right way to go. Moving on to the second point, hiding and concealing identity itself constitutes fundamental spiritual assault to believers. Several levels of analysis. Number one, so the government side approach is saying that there's no place in public sphere for you guys, right? Already religious minorities are marginalized in politics. Let's say, compared to majority religion, they do not deserve or receive same tax break. They're suffering. Therefore, taking away or stealing away the places in public sphere further disenfranchise minority, and it hurts these people even more mentally. Because especially when religious leaders are saying this, it's tantamount to official acknowledgement of no place in public sphere, and this is very suffering and painful. Secondly, we believe especially religion as an institution bear a responsibility to rescue, protect, and defend believers, especially when they are already marginalized. Therefore, public acknowledgement is necessary. So telling them not to expose their identity is similar to telling gay people not to out to have public sphere because they are minorities. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speakers, a gay pride parade is supported even in countries in which there is a violent backlash. Because even if the consequence is negative, showing identity in public itself constitutes an important part of their pride. Therefore, we can say the same thing for religious institution. Why is this important? Because if the religious institution tell their members to hide their identity, religious institution will lose trust from existing members. Religion no longer protect them. Religion no longer stand on their side. And this is a perception that believers may have. If that happens, believers will opt out of religion, leave religion. Religious institution will lose its membership. So principle we would like to consider here is a priority and strategy for religious institution is to maintain membership and proselytize its value as much as possible. The consequence is diametrically opposite to what religious institution advocate for and embrace. That is why we oppose the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, dear.